Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hanok. I'm a system administrator based in Boston, Massachusetts. And in this video, we're going to be looking at some basic Linux command line that you need to know. Now, if you don't know what Linux is, don't worry. This video is probably not for you, but basically Linux is an operating system just like Windows and Mac OS. In fact, Linux is by far the most popular operating system in the world, and you use it every day in your life, you just don't know it. You're watching this on YouTube, but YouTube itself is hosted on a web server, and that server is most likely a Linux operating system and not Windows or Mac. I'll talk more about Linux and what it is in a different video. For those of you interested in the Linux command line, let's jump over to the computer and I'll show you some basic Linux command lines that you need to know. So here we are. I'm using PuTTY to SSH into a VM that I'm running locally on my Windows 10 system. I will also have another video on how to create VMs. The VM stands for virtual machine. But for now, we're just gonna do the command line, the Linux command line. We'll start off by some navigation commands. So the first command that you need to know is pwd. And what pwd does is it prints your working directory. As you can see, when I pressed enter on pwd, it shows me that my directory is home/Hanok. Once you know where you are, you might want to see what's in that directory, right? So the next command that you should know is ls. And what ls does is it lists your the directory that you're in. So inside my home directory, I have other directories and files. In this case, desktop, documents, downloads, etc. ls has different variations. You could do ls-l, and it'll give you more information. This is permissions. Maybe I'll do another video detailing like the specific things, but all you need to know is that this tells you who can read, write, and execute your directories and files. This is the owner, this is the group, and this is obviously the directory or folder in this case. Another thing with ls is you could do ls-la, and this will give you some hidden files. Hidden files in Linux start with or in anything actually, starts with a dot and then the file name. Next thing you might want to do is go into one of these directories, right? So let's say I want to go into desktop. What I would do is type in cd, then the path that I want to go to. In this case, let's say I want to go into desktop, so I'll do desktop. And just a pro tip, once you start typing something in Linux, you can press tab and it'll autocomplete whatever it is, either the command, the file, or directory. So in this case, I typed in des, and when I press tab, it auto-completed desktop. If there was something else that started with a des, you can press tab twice and it'll list everything that starts with a des. So we'll do cd desktop. As you can see, the path behind the $ changed. So this tilde sign indicates your home directory. So if I were to do pwd, which prints my working directory, you can see that now I'm in home, Hanok, desktop. Some tricks with cd, if you want to go back one, you can do cd ... and that'll take you to the directory. That'll take you to the directory below where you are. So if I hit enter, you can see now I'm back in my home directory. And you can do that as far as it'll go. So if I were to say cd ... /... again, it would go all the way back to the root directory. If you know the full file path, you can just type in the full file path. So let's say I want to go back to the desktop folder that I was in. I can do cd home, and I keep pressing tab to autocomplete, home Hanok, and then desktop. And now I'm back where I was. That's navigation. Obviously there's a lot more than that, but that's the basic that you need to know. The next thing you should know is creating and deleting things. So let's start with directories. To create a directory, the command that you need is mkdir. Pretty much that stands for make directory. So if I say make dir test, for instance, and then I do ls to list what I have, look at that. Now the test directory that I just created is there. If you want to create a file and not a directory or a folder, you can do the command touch. So if I do touch test file, and then I do ls, now you'll see the test file called test file. That is probably a dumb name to name it. Now let's say I want to write some stuff inside of the test file that I just created. There are several ways to do this. So vi is one, vim is also another one. I like to use nano just because it's simpler and it's what I learned first. It's pretty kind of ancient as far as I know, but I like to use it. So I'm going to do nano and then the file that I want to edit. So in this case, test file. And then it'll give me this very blank text editor. And in here, I could just, like any other text file, I could just write it. So let's write something coherent. This is a test file. Good job. Or maybe hello world. And to save in nano, you do Control O, and you can see them at the bottom, the commands that you need to run. And then I'll enter, and then it'll write those files, and then I'll do Control X to exit. Those were for creating things, but for deleting something, you would use a command called rm, and I'm pretty sure it stands for remove. So we have files in here. Let's take the one that says fake. There's nothing in there, but it doesn't matter, right? So if I want to delete that file, all I have to do is rm the file name fake. And if I were to do ls-l, that's not there anymore. And that's just an easy way. If it was a directory, you do rmdir, so rmdir, the directory. So test in this case, ls-l, not there anymore. The next part you need to know is interacting with directories and files. Let's say I want to print out the contents of the file that I just created. What I can do is run the command cat and then the file name. So in this case, test file. There we go. So now we see the contents of that file. There are other ways to do this. So less isn't another command. Less test file. That'll go actually it'll pretty much open the file instead of printing it out on the terminal. More is also another command, and there are tricks to use these in different scenarios. Another way you might want to interact with files is by being able to copy them, right? So the next command to know is cp. All this does is let you copy files. So I could do cp test file. So I'll do cp, the file that I want to copy, and a new name for the new file that you're copying to. So in this case, I'll call it copy test file. So now if I print out the contents of copy, it should be the same as test file. Boom, there you go. There are other copying commands as well. So SCP is one for secure copy, especially if you want to copy something to a different server. rsync is a big one. I probably use rsync for everything. Another essential command that you need for interacting with files, I would say, is grep. So grep is a special command, and it pretty much does what a Control F does on a file or on a web browser. And if I want to grep for all the files and directories that have the name file in them, what I would do is ls, which lists all the files and directories. I will use a special character next, and in Linux that's called pipe. And what pipe lets you do is it lets you take the output of one command and make that an input for the next command. So in this case, we want to grep, right? Control F for the word file. If I press enter, I should only get a list of the files and directories with the word file in them. I probably should have named this something else. I'm saying file a lot. But anyways, as you can see, only two files showed up: copy test file and test file, and the word file is highlighted. The next set of commands that you should know are what I call Sys-admin commands. These are a mixture of things that allow you to administrate your server and stuff like that. So the first one I want to mention is a command called sudo. Sudo stands for super user do, and what it allows you to do is run as another user that has an elevated permission. So you could run things as the root user, but that's not usually encouraged. One, for security reasons, but also you could mess things up just because root doesn't have any kind of restrictions. Let's say I want to run an update. I could use the sudo command, right? So let's say I run it without sudo. I would do, because it's an Ubuntu, I would do apt-get update. Oh, look at that. Permission denied, permission denied. So what I could do is I could run sudo apt-get update. And then it'll ask me for my password. And there you go. The next command you should know is top. So top pretty much shows you a bunch of information about the load, what processes are running, and how much CPU and memory they're using. Another one is PS. Specifically, I use PSAUX, and this will give you a bunch of the processes that are running. And like if you're looking for something specific, you could do PSAUX grep for the name of the process that you're looking for. So if I say SSH for this case, see, look, this is the command that I just ran. This is probably my session. The next set of commands that I want to go over are chmod, chgroup or grp, and chown. These sets of commands are for permissions, so changing permissions or giving permissions to users. And we'll start with chmod. So what chmod allows you to do is change permissions on a directory or a file. Let's just look at the files that we have right now. And let's take test file for a second. So what we do with chmod is we type in chmod, then you specify who you want to change. So I want to change others, so O, and I want to get rid of the execute permission. And then to get rid of permission, you do a minus, and then you would do a plus for giving somebody a permission. So others minus the X permission, so executable, and then the file that I want to change, so test file in this case. So I'll do enter. And then if I do ls-l, you see that the X is gone and it's back to white instead of green. Then the next command would be chown. Chown, or change ownership, does pretty much what it sounds like. It allows you to change the ownership of a file. So let's take that test file again and change the ownership. So chown, and then I would do the user. Let's say I want to change it to root because I don't really have any other users on here. And then the file that I want, so test file in this case, operation not permitted. Let's just do sudo. I actually don't know why I wasn't able to change the ownership, but this is a perfect demonstration of sudo. So if I do ls-l now, you can see that root is the owner of test file. And then chgrp would be the same thing, just for the group. So ch group, let's do root again. Root is also a group. Test file. I have a feeling I need to be sudo again, so I'll do sudo. And then boom. So if we do ls-l again, now you see that the group is root. The next command that you should know is who. And who pretty much just says who's logged in. Okay, hope you're still with me. So the next commands that I want to go over are df and du. And pretty much those allow you to change check sizes. So let's do df first. I believe df is checking disk size. So if I run df, you can see all the different partitions on my, or file systems on my VM. It'll show you how big they are, how much is used, how much is still available, what percentage of that is used, and where it's mounted. To get a better reading, you can do df-h. This will make it human readable, so you can see all the sizes have changed to gigabytes and megabytes, which are easier to read. Du, on the other hand, will tell you the size of the directory or file that you want. So let's say I want to know how big is test file. So I would do du test file, and it's 4. I'm assuming that's 4 KB, but the other thing we could do is du-h test file, and that should give us a human readable. There you go. And to take things further, we could do du-hc or sch and then star, and that'll give me everything in that directory and the total size of everything within that directory. There is one more command that is essential, and I almost forgot to include in this video. And it is super essential because for all the commands that you learned earlier in this video, this command allows you to learn more about them. So what do I mean by that? Pretty much, okay, I'll just show an example. The command that I'm referring to is called the man. And what man allows you to do is you type in man, and then the command that you want to know more about. So let's pick one that we used earlier. Let's do df, right? So if I do man and then df and hit enter, look at that. It'll tell me everything about df. So, you know, df, what is it? It reports file system disk space usage. Cool. You can use it with df, an option, and then file. And then you can read the description if you want. Options. Look at that. It already has some of the things that you want to do. So you could do df-a for all. Oh, look at that. -h is what we used. That's for human readable. So print size and power of 1024. So man is super powerful. I actually don't use it as much, and I should. Google is also your friend, so I tend to Google a lot more. But man, definitely is easier if you want to know quickly what a command does. With that, I hope that gave you a good understanding of just some of the basics Linux commands that you should know. If you have more questions, feel free to leave a comment, follow me on my Instagram. Let me know if I missed anything. Be sure to subscribe, like, and until next time.